This is music, and this is and continues to be the Summer of Simon. Welcome to another episode of the Summer of Simon, a sub-series of the First Impression series. In this sub-series, I follow up on a massive and overwhelming VCLT I was sent by none other than the legend Mr. Wet Wang himself, Simon, from the Pieface channel. Go and check out his channel. He shows a lot of extreme metal. Now, he sent me an overwhelming VCLT full of CDs, and I got a stack of them here, so let's get down to business. Up first, Knorkator, Ich hasse Musik, I hate music. So these guys have been described as Deutsche Härte, like Rammstein-esque music, and there definitely are lots of elements from that branch of industrial metal on here, but there's so much more than that going on. You have some straight-up electronic songs, too. You have a swing jazz cover version of Beat Around the Bush by AC/DC. You have an industrial cover version of Ma Baker. So some pretty fun stuff on here. You have some very complex choral arrangements with vocal melodies that remind me a bit of maybe Renaissance choral arrangements, or maybe also Romanticist era choral arrangements. And this guy, this MMA looking dude, can hit some very impressive falsettos, and we're talking like operatic falsettos. So this is very interesting. And then you got lyrics that are nonsensical and absurd, and that's where a lot of the humor lies, I think. So very interesting listen, actually. Don't expect it to be Rammstein, though. Now, some hateful black metal, Mordant Red, Fuck Your Feeble World. As you can see, it says 4 tracks on here, but you have way more tracks on here. The first handful of songs are straight up cold and hateful black metal songs, and the remaining songs are more kind of filthy, punky songs. And then you have some inserted kind of stage banter kind of stuff, which obviously was designed to just piss everybody off. So this is not your granddad's boomer rock. This is nasty music for nasty boys. Up next, Mors Principium Est, Embers of a Dying World. You would be forgiven to expect this to be doom metal, but it is actually melodeath, and it's quite thrashy melodeath to my ears. The vocals are kind of typical, modern metal vocals. But you got some pretty cool riffage, nice thrashy energy, and some good use of melodic lead guitars and stuff. So I enjoyed this. I have to give it some more spins, but I enjoyed it for sure. That's my first impressions were positive. Now, Secrets by Mosquito. I already have a couple of Mosquito CDs, and as far as I remember, Simon actually mentioned he had one lying around that he would like to give me, and there you go, it's this one. So, one of the other Mosquito albums I have sounds a lot like Death Worship. This here is more like thrash metal, kind of modern-esque thrash metal, pretty cool riffs, nice guitar work, all that stuff. The vocals are a bit more like tough guy vocals, but it's okay. So yeah, I enjoyed this one too. Solid thrash metal. So that's good. More thrash metal. We have The Fatal Feast, Waste in Space by Municipal Waste. Crossover thrash with relatively short songs. You have 17 songs on here. This is good fun. Fast songs. They are over before you know of it. Great, just energetic crossover thrash riffage. Vocals obviously inspired by DRI, I would say, and also by Suicidal Tendencies. Good fun thrash metal, fast stuff. I would say kind of humor stuff too. So yeah, good stuff. I enjoyed this one. Municipal Waste, fun thrash metal. Up next, not much to see here. I do have the Digipack stored safely somewhere else, so don't worry. This is My Darkest Hate, and it's called Massive Brutality, as far as I remember. Death metal, I would say also kind of melodeath, to be perfectly honest with you. Um, it it starts out kind of grindy, and then it settles into, thrashy, maybe not melodeath, maybe more kind of mid-tempo, groovy death metal is probably a bit more precise. Kind of bolt thrower inspired in places. Pretty good stuff. I enjoy this. There are like melodeath elements every now and then, but yeah, enjoyable. Kind of again like modern era death metal. Like when I think modern metal in general, I think from 2000 and up until 2000 and maybe 15 or something like that. Up next, Mysterium, and this one is called Memorial. I believe it's Polish black metal, female fronted, very melodic. Doesn't sound like your typical black metal. Not a lot of tremolo picking going on. The most black metal, or most typical black metal thing is probably the vocals. Keyboards on here, very dominant keyboards, I would say, and they add the melody, but they also add a kind of epic feel to this. This is a little bit more riff driven than a lot of black metal is as well. So quite interesting listen. Unfortunately, the drums sound very mechanical, which is a bit of a shame, but overall an interesting listen for sure. And they have put out more stuff. And if you like your more melodic, epic style of black metal, check out Mysterium. And it's a female-fronted black metal band, or at least that release is. Up next, we have this one here, Obscurant, and it's called Life Form Dead. And yeah, this cover artwork might also lead you to, I don't know, expect maybe, I don't know, some crossover or maybe even straight up hardcore. But it's kind of somewhere in between melodic death metal and symphonic black metal, I think. So quite interesting. There's some pretty good riffs on here. The symphonic parts work quite well. They add an epic feel, for sure. But the music is there's kind of a discrepancy between the music and this more like street kind of cover artwork. So I don't know about that, but that's a minor point. Musically, it's interesting, but it is your more lush, symphonic mix of melodeath, I would say, and black metal. So this might not be everyone's cup of tea. I quite liked it though. Up next, One Man Army and the Undead Quartet, and this is called 21st Century Killing Machine. So again, kind of modern metal, and I would also classify this as some kind of somewhere in between death thrash and maybe melodic death metal, and some hints of just straight up death metal. Solid stuff, very enjoyable too, for sure. Also quite riff driven, which I appreciate. So another positive first impression. Obviously, I have to spin these way more times, right? But these are the first impressions. And up last this time around, we have this one here, Orbs, and it's called Asleep Next to Science. And there's a hype sticker on here, as you can see, and the hype sticker says progressive space rock from members of Cradle of Filth, Between the Bird and Me, and Fear Before the March of Flames. So members of, some gothic black metal stuff, some metalcore bands, kind of more like modern extreme metal bands, I would say. Musically, this sounds a lot like kind of alternative rock, I would say. You have some You do have some kind of piano stuff on top, which adds this kind of maybe prog rock kind of feel for sure. But musically, it's more in the vein of alternative rock. I do get a bit of a Coheed and Cambria vibe from this too, except I like Coheed and Cambria much better. But the music is pretty good. You have of course some spacey sounding keyboards too on top of everything, but it's not like the Hawkwind one I talked about last time, which was very entrancing and repetitive. But musically, it's very interesting. The vocals have a bit too much kind of late 90s, early 2010s, that era kind of teen angst going on. So there's a bit of a Jizzy Pearl cadence to the singer's voice. I also get a little bit of I forgot his name, the singer from Coheed and Cambria as well. And that sounds like a pretty cool combination, but for some reason it just doesn't work that well for me on here, because it sounds kind of like a glam metal vocalist trying to inject, teen angst into his singing style. It gets a little bit grating to me at the end of the day, but there's nothing wrong with the music on here though. So there you go, a stack of CDs. Go and check out Simon and his channel, the Pie Face channel. Until next time, thanks for watching.